I have another follow-up to the series of Freedom of Information investigations I've done into the NDP government's mishandling of the Wood Buffalo wildfire that swept into Fort McMurray May of 2016. We learned that NDP cuts to the wildfire fighting budget caused such chaos in the ministry responsible agriculture and forestry that the bureaucrats had to cancel all the water bomber contracts in the entire province just 10 days before the fire swept into town, and then they retendered them just 1 day before the fire crossed into city limits, burning down 2,400 homes and buildings, including the home of oil sands activist Robbie Picard, and rendering another 2,000 homes and buildings contaminated and uninhabitable. And we know by then it was too late to rehire some of these aircraft companies that were normally available to fight the fires here in Alberta. Some had signed contracts with other jurisdictions for their fire seasons, and we know the world's largest water bomber, the Martin Mars, based out of Sproat Lake, BC, was without a contract from the Alberta government, so it went to pay its bills doing air shows in the United States instead of fighting fires here. We also learned that the NDP wanted to effectively muzzle these same water bomber companies. They wanted them to sign non-disclosure agreements so that these companies couldn't go public with the government's mishandling of their contracts. The NDP were trying to hide their tracks. So I kept looking. I knew there was more. And now I have some more shocking documents showing the local oil industry was angry at what they saw on the ground. And the NDP bureaucrats were panicking, trying to keep them from going public and going what these bureaucrats called political. I have all the emails. The bureaucrats were worried about a conference call the industry had on May 17th, well into the current fire that was still burning out of control, and 2 days after another fire had been spotted near Whitecourt, Alberta. Industry was losing whatever confidence they had in the government's management of the fire crisis. The first email from one bureaucrat to another reads, Maria/Scott, heads up. My reps on an industry call that just ended said that industry was planning to go political. They believe the province is not applying enough suppression resources to the fire. I asked my team to convey confidence in the expertise at work and to remind industry there is limited work and airspace to action the fire. And another email about the companies going public and going political reads, industry reps here say almost certainly that is happening. The owner of Noralta Lodge used the words this morning, we have been abandoned. Imperial also made similar suggestions. Another email the same day also reads, Martin Foy, VP of Operations at AER, that's the Alberta Energy Regulator, received reports from one of his AER staff who was present on an industry call this afternoon. These are the comments relayed. ATCO, AESO, Interpipeline Limited, Shell, Syncrude, Imperial, Suncor, and Enbridge were all present. I would say that Syncrude was the most vocal about additional resources, but they were all in consensus on this. Industry's main message this afternoon on the call with AER is that we convey to provincial authorities their strong belief that there is the need for additional resources to be dedicated to fight the fire. They want a call to go out at the provincial, national, and international level. There is a sense of great frustration given the current situation. So then the bureaucrats were on another email asking for top cover, as in cover their asses, against the assertion of the companies on the ground that there was not enough being done, and then the talking points were being crafted specifically to shut those companies up. This is the email here. It's the talking points memo. It reads, we have right amount of resources that are safe to deploy based on the extreme wildfire behavior we have. And then towards the end it reads, and main point, no amount of resources will stop this fire from growing, but we continue to make effective progress using the right tools for the job. So the NDP bureaucrats were furiously working on talking points and trying to identify who the problematic local business owners were instead of addressing their very real concerns about being abandoned, their words, abandoned by the provincial government. As the city burned, the NDP were worried about keeping industry from going to the media, going political. They were trying to manage the political fallout instead of the crisis before them. Remember those accusations from Rachel Notley in the legislature that Wild Rose leader Brian Jean was fear-mongering when he asked for more wildfire fighting resources for Fort McMurray on the day his Fort McMurray home burned down? And then we have the non-disclosure agreements that the government demanded all those water bomber companies needed to sign. And now this. Frantic plans by allegedly nonpartisan government workers trying to keep industry from going political. They're trying to smother the political fire as a real fire burned in the town. I'll stay on this story and I'll see it through to the end because I'm sure there's more. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn-Reid. For more investigations into the Fort McMurray wildfire that the mainstream media refuses to touch, click the link below to subscribe today.